Let me describe a scene. You're driving somewhere you've never been. Maybe it's a dentist you found on Google Maps. Maybe it's a friend's new apartment across town. You're following the directions. Or maybe you're not. Maybe you're old school and you have a general idea in your head. Then it happens. You miss the turn. Or the street you were supposed to turn on doesn't exist. Or there's construction. Or your GPS says, recalculating in that flat, disappointed voice, now you're lost. And the first thing you do, the very first thing, is you reach for the radio dial, and you turn it down. Not off, just lower. So the music is still there, but it's hovering, apologetic, like it knows it shouldn't be taking up space. I do this. Everyone I know does this. And for years I thought it was just a weird personal tic, like cracking my knuckles, or checking the fridge 3 times, even though I haven't eaten anything. But then I started wondering why the radio.
Why not roll down the window?
Why not turn up the AC? Why not pull over and call someone? So I looked into it. It turns out there's real brain science here. And it's not because the music is annoying. It's not because you hate that particular song. It's something much deeper. Let me give you a metaphor that scientists actually use. It's called cognitive load. Think of your brain's available attention as a small table. It's the size of a nightstand. You can put a few things on it, a coffee cup, a book, your phone. When you're driving normally, that table has maybe 2 or 3 items. Watching the road ahead, keeping your speed steady, not drifting out of your lane. That's fine. The table isn't full. Now add the radio. Even if it's a song you like, even if it's background music, your brain is still doing work. It's decoding rhythm, catching a few lyrics, subconsciously waiting for the chorus. That's a 4th item on the table. Still fine. Your table can handle 4, but then you get lost. Suddenly, your brain has to add, comparing what you see to a mental map, calculating a new route, watching for new landmarks, reading unfamiliar street names, managing the frustration of being lost. That's 3 or 4 new items. The table is now overflowing. So your brain does what any overwhelmed person does. It looks for something to remove. What's the least urgent thing on the table? The radio. And here's the weird part. You don't decide to turn it down. Your hand just reaches for the knob. By the time you're aware of the motion, the volume is already lower. That's because your auditory cortex and your motor planning regions are directly connected to your spatial navigation system. When navigation screams, "I need RAM," the volume knob turns almost by reflex. It's faster than thought. I dug up a study from the University of Illinois. They put people in driving simulators and gave them different audio conditions: silence, music with lyrics, instrumental music, talk radio, and conversation with a passenger. Here's what they found. When people had to navigate an unfamiliar route, any audio with semantic content, words that mean something, reduced their ability to process new spatial information by nearly 40%. That means if you're listening to a podcast about history, or a talk radio show, or even a song with clear lyrics, your brain is splitting its attention. One part is listening to the words. The other part is trying to figure out where the hell you are, and those 2 tasks compete. They use overlapping neural resources. But here's the killer detail. Study also found that even instrumental music, no lyrics at all, still caused a measurable performance drop. About 15%, because your brain is still tracking rhythm, melody, changes in dynamics. It's not nothing, so the radio goes down. I'll tell you something stupid I did. Last year, I was driving to a cabin in the mountains. A friend sent me directions written on a napkin. No cell service up there. I was feeling confident. I've driven in mountains before. I had a great playlist going. Classic rock, turned up loud, singing along. Then I missed a turn. A dirt road that looked like every other dirt road. I kept driving for maybe 2 miles before I realized the trees looked wrong. The sun was on the wrong side. I stopped singing. I turned the radio down. Not off down. Then I turned it down again, almost silent. And I just sat there at the side of the road with the engine running, staring at the napkin. 5 minutes later, I figured it out. Found the turn, got to the cabin. But when I parked, I realized something. I had no memory of the last 3 songs that played. They were on the playlist. I must have heard them, but my brain didn't save them. That's when I started wondering, why did I turn the radio down? Why did my hand just go there? Here's something I learned from a neuroscience paper. The connection between hearing and spatial navigation is ancient, evolutionarily ancient. In mammals, the superior colliculus, a structure in the midbrain, integrates auditory and visual information to help you locate things. Predators, prey, escape routes. If you hear a sound behind you, your ears send a signal to that region, which then shifts your eyes and head toward the sound. That's automatic. You can't stop it. Now, when you're driving and you're lost, your brain treats the situation as a low-grade threat. Not a lion, but something wrong. Something that needs solving. The radio becomes an auditory distraction that your ancient navigation system doesn't know how to filter. So it does the only thing it can. It turns down the volume of the distraction. Not by asking you politely. By reaching for the knob through your hand. That reflex exists because, for millions of years, hearing a noise while trying to figure out where you were meant danger. Your ancestors needed to quiet their environment to listen for predators. The modern version is turning down the radio. You're not being dramatic. You're being a mammal. You might be thinking, okay, but what if someone is talking to me in the car? Do I turn them down too? It's funny you ask. Most people don't turn down a passenger. They'll actually stop talking themselves, or they'll shush the passenger. But they don't physically lower the passenger's volume because you can't. The passenger is a person. You can't turn them down with a dial, so your brain does something else. It starts ignoring the passenger. You'll notice this if you've ever been lost while someone was telling a story. You stop hearing the story, you nod along, but you have no idea what they just said. That's your brain's version of turning down the radio when there's no dial. Selective auditory gating. It's less effective than actually lowering the volume. Which is why having a chatty passenger while lost is more stressful than having loud music. Music you can turn down. People you have to ignore, and ignoring someone takes effort. Here's the part nobody talks about. After you find your route, after you spot the gas station or the correct street, do you turn the radio back up? Most people don't. Not right away. You leave it low for another few minutes? Maybe until you're on the highway again. Maybe until you see a landmark you recognize. That's your brain being cautious. It's not sure the crisis is over. You found the turn, but what if you missed another one? What if the GPS is wrong again? So your brain keeps the table half empty, just in case. I've noticed this in myself. Even after I've solved the navigation problem, I'll drive in near silence for a while. The radio is a whisper. I don't even notice until I pull into my destination and think, it's been quiet for 10 minutes. That's your brain hoarding attention. It's like holding your breath after you almost tripped. You don't need to hold your breath anymore, but your body hasn't gotten the memo. If you want to see this reflex in action, try this. Next time you're a passenger, not the driver, hand the driver your phone with a map open. Then play music at a normal volume. Ask them to navigate a route they don't know. Watch their hand. When they get confused, they'll reach for the radio. Almost every time. And here's the fun part. After they turn it down, watch them turn it back up. They'll wait longer than you expect. Some drivers will completely forget to turn it back up until you remind them. Try it. It's like watching a reflex you can't fake. There is one exception to all of this. Some people turn the radio up when they're lost. Specifically, they turn up familiar music, a song they know by heart, one they've heard 100 times. Why? Because familiar music doesn't require active decoding. Your brain already knows what comes next. The song becomes a background anchor, not a distraction. For some people, that anchor reduces anxiety, which frees up cognitive resources for navigation. But here's the catch. That only works if the music is extremely familiar, like you've heard it weekly for years. And it only works if you're mildly lost, not totally disoriented. Most people aren't like that. Most people need silence. I've tried both. For me, any lyrics at all, even a song I could sing in my sleep still splits my attention. I'm a silence when lost person. What are you? This reflex isn't just about driving. It's about what your brain does when it suddenly needs more space. When you're overwhelmed at work, you turn off notifications. When you're trying to solve a hard problem, you close your eyes. When you're searching for your keys in a messy room, you stop humming. These are all the same thing. Your brain is clearing the table. The radio is just the most visible example. It's a physical dial you can see moving. Most cognitive load management happens invisibly. So next time you're lost and you reach for that knob, don't feel weird. You're not being impatient or dramatic. You're just running a very old, very effective piece of software. Your ancestors turned down the campfire chatter to listen for wolves. You turned down the radio to listen for street signs. Same brain, different century. I looked up all of this because I couldn't stop wondering, why do I do that? Why does everyone do that? And the answer turned out to be simpler and stranger than I expected. You turn down the radio when you're lost because your brain doesn't trust anything that isn't helping you survive the next 30 seconds. Music is beautiful. Music is joyful. Music makes driving alone feel like a movie. But when you're lost, your brain demotes music to background noise. And then it lowers the volume to save power. The moment you find your way again, the music comes back. It's not because you remember to turn it up, because your brain finally says, okay, we're safe. You can enjoy things again. That's the weird thing I learned today. Hey, if you find yourself wondering about weird little things like this, and you don't want to spend an hour digging through old studies yourself, you should probably subscribe. I do the digging. You'll get the weird part. No fluff, no wellness nonsense. Just curious stories about why you do what you do. Hit subscribe if that sounds like your kind of thing. Or don't. I'll still be here reading papers at midnight, turning down my own radio when I miss a turn. Thanks for driving with me. See you next time.